Hi there. I am doing, I think this is like my third or fourth live video that's starting around on time at 9 a.m. Pacific time. I'm trying to do these every single day at 9 a.m. to talk about different issues related to startups and related to Sama and Lakshmi. So today, I mentioned in a post that I'm going to be talking about the idea of terroir, the French concept of terroir, and how it applies to skincare, which is something that we think is really new that we're doing in the industry with Lakshmi. So terroir refers to the environment that something grows in. It could be the soil, the mineral content of the soil, the air, the water, and the overall environment in which something grows. I think that we should also, when we think about terroir, think about the conditions that the workers are treated in while they're making the product. So if we have a more expansive definition of terroir, it would also include a social mission like giving work, because I think that when a product is grown or harvested or created, made, fabricated by people who are treated really well, by people who've been given an opportunity, people who might have been marginalized before, that also contributes to making a better product. So here's to a social impact terroir definition in the future. But normally terroir refers to, and it came out of the wine industry, it refers to the conditions in which a grape is grown, which lend that grape a particular flavor, which then create a different taste for the wine. So just as a prop, I'm not drinking at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It's like super early in the morning. But just as a prop, I brought a bottle of rosé, which comes from the Bonnie Doon Vineyard here in California, and is one of my favorite rosés. It's pretty inexpensive, but it also tastes delicious. And so, when you're thinking about something like a wine, you try to understand the conditions in which the grapes grow, the root structure of the plants, and all of those variables combine to create a particular taste in the wine. So that concept of terroir, I think, is really powerful for many different organic and many different plant-derived ingredients. And so, since we at Lakshmi are creating plant-derived skincare, we started investigating the terroir behind Nilotica, which is a type of shea butter that grows at the source of the Nile River. We source our Nilotica from this beautiful region in northern Uganda, which is again near the source of the Nile, and this region is extremely lush and fertile, and is known for having really high mineral deposits in the soils, which lead to more active phytochemicals in any of the plants that are grown in that region. So it's a beautiful, pristine environment. And so we think that the terroir behind our Nilotica is so special that it warrants a new name. So we call our Nilotica Nilotica Reserve, which refers to this very special type of Nilotica shea that grows in this region. And just so you guys know what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you a picture of, this is me sitting in the region. Oops, and my little notifications. But this is me sitting in the region in Uganda last year in August by the Nile River, and the shea trees that we harvest from grow right around here. And that's what the nut looks like. That's me holding one of the nuts. You can see it's got a beautiful texture on the top. This is, even though it looks a little weird, this is apparently a really healthy shea nut where we can get some of the richest butter for our product. And so we've really focused on understanding what are the conditions in this region that lead to the highest quality nuts. How can we pick only the very, very finest nuts, and what does that do at the end of the day to the product that shows up in your bottle? So this is something that we think is really new in the skincare industry. Most of the time when we think about terroir, we think about food, and even then it's been a relatively recent phenomenon that we apply terroir to different types of food. So now I think there's a lot more attention paid to local and organic. The reason we care about local and organic produce is that we tend to see that produce has the highest mineral and vitamin content, that it's more nutritious for us if it has not been grown in a hothouse very, very far away. And it's more nutritious for us if it has been grown in an environment with fewer environmental toxins. So if there are no industrial manufacturing plants, and if there's no industrial agriculture, that probably means that the environment has fewer pesticides and fewer fertilizers and other chemicals in the soil and in the water and in the air that could impart a worse taste, or even worse than that, lower nutritional content for the plant. So we've started to do this with food, and now, the most discerning shoppers will try to buy the most local and organic produce that they can in an attempt to maximize the nutritional value of the food. And if you've ever had a tomato in most parts of the US that's been grown in a hothouse versus a tomato that you pick off the vine in Kenya, I find that the produce is incredible and super tasty. You can get these delicious fresh tomatoes that come right off the vine. The difference is astounding, right? Like, it's funny to me that you could even call it the same plant that we use the same word tomato to describe a tomato grown in a hothouse that really has no taste and has a mealy texture versus a really delicious vine ripened juicy red tomato in a place like Kenya, or Europe. And so I think the same is true for the natural and organic ingredients in our skincare. And we never really think about it. We think that if our product says 100% natural, or even 60% natural, or if it says it contains no petrochemicals, we think that that's the best we can do. I think we need to go so much further. It's not enough just to be natural. You should be applying the same principles to your skincare, and I think this applies to both men and women, as you would to your food. You should aim to get the maximum nutritional content out of your skincare, because ultimately your skin is absorbing 60% of what you put on it into your bloodstream. So we think at Lakshmi that you should put nothing on your skin that is bad for you, and beyond that, you should put only things on your skin that are actively good for you. We use as a reference point this amazing database called the Skin Deep Index, which was developed by the Environmental Working Group, and it is an index of all of the chemicals, of all of the compounds, of all of the ingredients found in skincare. So you can actually go on the site, you can look up a favorite product of yours, and you can see how it ranks on the Skin Deep Index. And you can also, if you read the ingredient label of your skincare, which I highly recommend doing, some of the things on those ingredient labels will scare you, and you might be tempted to throw away half of your bathroom, which is what I did when I started Lakshmi and became more aware of the importance of natural skincare and getting rid of these chemicals. But you can look up individual ingredients, and what's so exciting about that is you can really understand whether those individual ingredients are good for you or bad for you, and they give you a ranking of 0 to 10 for all of the ingredients in a product, 10 being the highest level of toxicity and 0 being something that you would feel comfortable putting on your baby or even eating. And so all of the products that we formulate at Lakshmi not only have a beautiful terroir story because of this awareness of the natural environment that our products grow in, but they also rank nothing ranks higher than a 1 on the Skin Deep Index, which means that it's something that you would feel really comfortable having your child touch. If your child accidentally ingests it, you wouldn't be concerned. And in fact, you could eat some of our products. So we just pitched a retailer on the East Coast 2 days ago, and Thea, our CMO, the night before was whipping up a batch of truffles with our Nilotica just to prove the point that they're safe enough to eat. And I'm going to show you a picture because they look really pretty. And then we took them into this meeting and actually opened the meeting by sharing the truffles and inviting our colleagues to take part and try them. They had no idea that we were going to tell them that inside the truffles was Nilotica butter and that this is proof that it's safe enough to eat. And so that was kind of a little bit gimmicky, but I think it went over well. So, sadly I don't have the picture here, but I will, I'll have to post it a little bit later because they look really beautiful and they've got coconut shavings on them. And at some point we'll have to post the recipe with Thea and do a live demonstration of how you can make the truffle butter. I wanted to also show you what the Nilotica looked like. So this is what that butter looks like. It's a little foggy, you can kind of see it. It's got a beautiful creamy texture, and it melts really, really quickly into the skin. And what we found is that the difference between our Nilotica Reserve and more traditional shea that you might find in West Africa, which is the shea that is being exported for a lot of brands like L'Oreal and L'Occitane, which is still a great natural product, and we're in favor of more shea consumption because consuming this product creates jobs for local women all over the continent. But there is a big difference between what you see in the West African shea and East African shea, and then between the general East African shea you can find and our Nilotica, there's a major difference. And the biggest one is this difference in texture, this rich buttery texture, which comes from olein, which is a oleic acid, which makes it so soft and easy to melt into the skin. And the butter that we have is also really high in vitamins A and K naturally. And we're doing some additional lab testing now to better understand what the soil quality in the region that we grow, what the terroir, what that does to our Nilotica, and how that's differentiated from what you might buy in a drugstore, for example. So I think I'm going to conclude here. I don't have any questions, I don't think. This was less of a startup advice piece and more just I guess a thought piece on the idea of terroir behind your skincare. But I would encourage you to think about that. The next time you put something on your skin, think about it the same way you would think about something that you put in your body. And if you're not reading ingredient labels for your food, you should start this tomorrow. It might be enlightening, especially if you live here in the US where we have fewer regulations than in many other developed countries for what we put in our food. And certainly the same holds true for skincare. So I also really encourage you to read ingredient labels of your skincare. And if there are natural ingredients listed, that's wonderful. Congratulations, you're already ahead of the curve. But now start thinking about where those natural ingredients come from. What is the terroir behind them? And more than just the environmental considerations, the soil quality, the air, the water, you should also think about the conditions in which the workers are producing the product. If those conditions are beautiful, if the workers are treated well, if you're bringing opportunity and employment to marginalized communities, as we do at Lakshmi with our Give Work Promise, the terroir is that much more powerful. And I think ultimately a product, the end product, reflects all of the things that go into it, not just the raw ingredients, but also the care and the love that's put into the product by the workers. So if you have a product that's created in an environment where people are treated fairly and beautifully, the product itself will be more beautiful. I think the product will contain that intrinsic value and that beauty. So think about that the next time you drink a glass of wine. That terroir could be bigger than just the environment something's grown in. It can also be the conditions in which people work. All right, tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. I think I might be on the way to Coachella tomorrow at 9 a.m., so this might be from a car. But we will talk about another exciting topic, and I'm going to try to post the topics before, like the day before, and then post the videos on LinkedIn and on YouTube, along with a summary of what we talk about so that there's a record of all of these. And if you have any questions, please feel free to comment in the video or comment when I post the topic for the next day. Thanks so much and have an amazing Thursday.